We're now joined by the president of the Pan Africanist Congress of Tanzania, Mzwanele Nyhontso. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter, for having us.
All right. I mean, this sounds like a very sad story. If you say that PAC combatants are being selectively ignored.
It's a very, very sad story, a situation indeed, Peter. And at some point, we worked very well with the Eastern Cape government because I think they are the only provincial government with a policy in place to repatriate the remains. But I don't know what happened. The process has since been slow. I'm not sure whether they've realized that most of these cadres do not belong into the ruling party, but to the PAC. But that process was started there in Eastern Cape, and at some point it just stopped. And the sad part, Peter, is that families from all over, not from Eastern Cape only, from all over the country, are calling us. They want us to assist them, and we knock to the government doors. We ask for assistance. We assist families. We really wish that these departments can expedite this process, including the Department of Arts and Culture now, who is also part of this process. The National Department, for example, I raised the issue of Chairman Pogela. I've raised it with the Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, and we are still waiting for those results. But Peter, you must also know, this is also coupled with the fact that PAC still has some APLA cadres still languishing in South African jails. It is coupled with the fact that most PAC veterans are buried as paupers in their homes, even those who are here inside the country, ex-Robben Islanders, those who are coming from exile, they die with nothing, really nothing. You go to a PAC veteran who is coming from Robben Island, spent 20 years in exile, you bury him like a pauper. It's a very sad situation.
All right, so you've raised a couple of issues. I want to start with the preferential treatment, because that would suggest that other former combatants from other political parties in a similar situation, perhaps even a similar location, are having their repatriation process either done quickly, and your cadres are not enjoying the same treatment. Is that what is happening?
No, definitely. Preferential treatment is what is happening with PAC veterans. The reason I'm coupling it with these three things, because they intertwine. These are all veterans. You see them when they are getting special pensions. Others some of ours do not get them. When they are getting these benefits from the Department of Defense and military veterans, which is the medical aids and other benefits, most of PAC veterans are not getting them. So that's why I'm saying these things are coupled together. Yes, there is the preferential treatment, and it doesn't augur well with us.
So the MK vets are treated better than PAC vets, that's what you're saying?
Definitely.
You've raised the issue of those languishing in jail. Are there no ANC MK cadres in a similar scenario?
I don't know of others, but I know we still have Pangubane in Koshimampuru, who is now given a day parole, and who was in jail. I think he was imprisoned early 1992 or 93. So I don't know other organizations. I know PAC members who are still in jail.
Why is this a provincial competency? It seems as if, especially when you start talking about repatriation from Eswatini as far afield as Tanzania, that this should be a national competency to repatriate these ex-cadres.
No, definitely, it should have been. That's why I said initially, as PAC, we were working very well with Eastern Cape provincial government, because those are the only provincial government that has a policy of repatriation. Other provinces do not have it. But you're right, it should have been a competence of national government. Hence, we're raising these matters with the Minister of Arts and Culture, with the with the Department of Defense and Military Veterans. It should have been a national competence, really. Because, for example, in some countries, you'll find countries will tell you, for example, some in Tanzania would say, no, the heroes who died here are also our heroes. But then you will need government to interact with that government, because families, African families believe in seeing their remains of their loved ones in their gardens, in their own graveyards. Now you need government to speak on behalf of these people and speak to another government from another country. So yes, it should have been the competence of national government, but it is too slow when it comes to national government.
Do you have any idea in terms of numbers of former combatants that need to be repatriated and where they are?
No, we don't have an idea. There's a lot of them. We can't have an idea about how many are they. There's a lot of them. The reason I was saying, remember, others are lying in shallow graves around Africa. Others are still lying inside the country. Others are here in Stikland in Belveld. We could not get inside there and exhume them. We're told that the experts said no, the bones are no longer there. Something should have been happened to them and so on. That Amakwetu died crying about those comrades. So a lot of PAC activists are still lying out there inside the country, out of the country, in so many African countries, in shallow graves.
Could that be the problem then, that it's difficult to identify those that were lost, and therefore to repatriate them would require some form of identification and quite a process in terms of appropriate documents?
Yes, there is a process. There is a process, but some is not difficult because, for example, the case of Mamanda Mase, the husband has a clear marked grave with a tombstone. For example, with John Nyati Pogela in Zimbabwe, he was buried next to the Heroes Ache in Zimbabwe, meaning his grave is easily identifiable. So not all of them are difficult to identify. Yes, others, the NPA would have to come in and check with the families and do all the tests, DNAs and so on. But others is very easy. That's like those we exhumed in Lesotho, in Maseru. All of them had clearly marked tombstones. We just went there and exhumed all of them.
So where is the holdup? Is it on the South African side in terms of making requests? Are the countries where your combatants died wanting to cooperate with South Africa?
No, I think the holdup is with the South African government, because they are the ones who must talk to the government that side, and it's very, once they interact, we are given an authority to come and exhume. It is within the South African government.
So, I mean, it's quite an allegation that you've made, especially when you use words like preferential treatment. What has been the response of government when you said to them, you're treating your guys better than ours? No,
we're saying this every day. Even in Parliament, I always say our guys are treated differently. I've just made a statement in Parliament to say APLA cadres are being declined as veterans by a Brigadier General of MK, Major General Mzwanele, who is MK. How does he verify PAC members? How do you verify people you don't even know? People that do not belong in your own organization. Now I'm on record saying it in Parliament to the state president, that president, consider this thing, it is wrong. You can't send an MK general to Eastern Cape and verify APLA cadres, when APLA has got generals who can identify and tell us that this one I worked with. But this man has been running around the country declining, rejecting PAC veterans, and thus now they are dying as paupers. They don't have medical aid. When they are sick, they must go to public hospitals, and when they are dead, they don't even get assistance from the GMV. It's very sad, Peter. Yes, they are treated differently from others.
Mr. Nyhontso, we're going to have to leave it there. We'll try and get hold of Minister Natimtetwa to try and get a response on this particular issue. There must be some reasons that there seems to be this blockage or delay, and we'll see what he says. But thank you so much indeed for explaining your party's position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that's the president of the Pan Africanist Congress of Tanzania, PAC, President Mzwanele Nyhontso, upset that former APLA combatants who died in exile their families are finding it difficult to get their bodies repatriated back to South Africa.